You're listening to the Life Friendly Business Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Thomas Wong, business mentor, author, and founder of the Cocoon VIP membership, empowering women around the world to build businesses on their terms. If you want to grow and scale a business that works in harmony with your family and your life, this podcast is for you. Hello and welcome to season 2 of the Life Friendly Business Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Thomas Wong. I'm a business mentor and coach with over 13 years of small business experience. The Life Friendly Business Podcast is all about doing it on your terms. And during these episodes, we'll be talking about the mindset gremlins which stop you from really getting the success that you deserve. And we'll also be sharing the stories of other women who are building businesses on their own terms and carving their own path. So what do I mean by life friendly? Well, I'm talking about a business that works for you. I'm talking about creating your own measures of success, doing things at your own pace and working around your family life or other commitments. But I'm also talking about creating a business that is sustainable and scalable and financially viable. So it's all those things, but it's about doing it on your own terms. So let's get rid of the overwhelm and the stress that comes with being a small business owner. Let's enjoy running our businesses and let's make sure that we've got the great work-life balance that we all desire. So you might have noticed something different if you're watching this podcast, in that I've decided to combine the video and podcast. So I think that's called a vodcast. But I've decided to create videos as well while I'm recording these podcasts, because so many of you have fed back that they love the idea of listening to a podcast, but they just don't have time. And I know that lots of you follow me on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. So I've decided to create videos alongside the podcast. So it's going to look slightly different, but if you're listening, then hopefully it should sound exactly the same. Thank you so much for the fantastic feedback on season 1 of the Life Friendly Business Podcast. You know, it is quite tough when you're doing a podcast because you don't have that instant conversation with people, because, you know, I can't see who's listening. So I really value it when you get in touch with me, or when I've been having conversations and people have said, oh, I listened to this episode, it was really helpful. So please do drop me an email at erin@lifefriendlybusiness.com if you listen to an episode that really helps you move things forward, things that, you know, you really resonate with. And also, if there's anything you'd like me to cover in this podcast, please do reach out. I would love to be able to do that for you. So today we're going to be talking about what you really want. And not only is it the first episode of season 2, but also we are in the new year. I'm recording this at the beginning of 2022. And the new year is a great time for reflection about what's been working for you so far, but also what hasn't been working. And I know that, you know, in some ways, there's a lot of resistance about setting resolutions as such, because when you set a resolution, you either make it or you don't. And if you don't, then you feel like a failure. It's the old thing of like, I will go to the gym 3 times a week from January. And it gets to the end of January and you've been once and you think, oh, I failed. And so you give up on that resolution. So maybe instead of talking about resolutions, we could talk about setting the intention. So what is your intention for the year ahead? And when you're thinking about intentions, you know, obviously we can have particular milestones in mind that we want to get to, but I'd really like you to think about how you want to feel this year. Because, you know, we've been living through 2 years now of a pandemic and it's taken its toll. And I think that many of us have learned a lot about ourselves and how we deal with challenging situations. But also we've learned where our breaking point is. And really, you know, 2022, it would be fantastic if it was all about protecting ourselves so that we don't get to those breaking points. So being really super aware of what we need to do to surround ourselves with a kind of protected layer And in that way, we're able to be our best for other people as well. So, in terms of my intentions for this year, yes, I have a financial intention and I've got a monthly figure in mind, but it won't be at the cost of everything else. And if I don't quite make it one month, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. We can be our own worst enemies with these kind of things. And, it's the whole carrot and stick approach. Does it really motivate you to be hit with a stick when you do something wrong? Or actually, if you're nurtured with the carrot, will that get you to where you want to go? And I'm definitely a carrot kind of person. So I've decided that I am not going to be mean to myself. We have all these inner critic conversations going on in our heads that often we don't realize is our own voice. We think it's someone else's voice or multiple people's voices, but actually it's our own voice speaking to us. So be aware of how kind you are being to yourself. But yeah, my intentions are to continue to feel cool, calm and collected. I love those three words: cool, calm and collected. And when life gets busy, I'm going to slow it down. And when I feel overwhelmed, I'm going to stop and think about why I feel overwhelmed and make some changes. And those things, implementing those changes into your life, make you a lot more resilient and a lot more able to overcome challenges when they come out of the blue. Because let's face it, the last couple of years has shown us that we're not in control of all those things. And when you have kids, you know that instantly, that, best laid plans, all those things, when you've got kids, can go out the window really easily. So we must build that resilience with ourselves. But also my other intention, which served me really, really well last year, was to keep a positive mental attitude. It's not surprising that we have days where we feel and flat and lacking energy. It's not surprising with everything that's going on around us. And don't be fooled, even if you might feel like you're not massively affected by COVID, you probably are subconsciously being affected by the weight of what's going on right now. But, even when COVID wasn't around, we still have these energy dips, and that's perfectly normal. And I am not in any way saying that we shouldn't be having those. But what I'd love you to do is to be able to spend time thinking about what creates those dips for you and how you can get yourself back out of it. It's that whole thing about acknowledge how you're feeling. And sometimes you need to sit in it for a bit, but then find a way to move on. And the more you do that, the faster you'll be able to move on. And I think one thing about this time of year as well, when you're seeing other people on social media, for example, is getting sucked in to other people's measures of success. You see people talking about their aims for this year. They're going to launch this, they're going to do this, they're going to earn this much money every month or this much money a year. And sometimes it can be completely paralyzing, because for you, it might not feel anywhere near obtainable. And then you start this whole self-doubt thing, thinking, well, why is that not obtainable for me? I must be doing something wrong. So be aware that sometimes messages around you can create negative feelings within yourself. They may not be intended to. They may be intended to motivate you, but we are not all motivated by the same things. And that's where I really, with the Life Friendly Business podcast, it's all about your own measures of success. What feels successful to you, and sticking to that and not being swayed by other people. So how have things felt for you over the last year during 2021? Do you feel like your business is as life friendly as it could be? i.e., is your business working for you, or is it working against you? Do you need to reset your boundaries and your non-negotiables? We talked about this a lot in season 1, and what I'm talking about is if you are constantly feeling overstretched, overwhelmed, irritated, taken for granted, it's probably because you don't have your boundaries in place. And the boundaries are what we need in order to protect ourselves. So it can be small things like I need to finish work at 2:30 so that I can go and pick my kids up. And that has to be it. That's a full stop. And then if you're not keeping to those boundaries, you might accept a call which will go on till 2:50. And you think at the time, that's fine, I can deal with that. And it gets to the day, and all day you're feeling anxious about the fact that you're going to have to rush to the school gates, and you can feel it building up in you. And then the call runs over, and then you're thrown into a panic and you feel resentful and annoyed. And, the fact is that you allowed that to happen because your boundary was 2:30. Everything had to finish by 2:30. So in that example, we need to stick to our guns when we are scheduling calls and things like that. And you can use things like Calendly and Acuity scheduling, where you actually set those boundaries in your calendar. And then when people book in a call, they cannot book a call that goes past that time. So things like that. That's just a very small example. But also revisiting your boundaries in terms of, are you saying yes to things that you feel like you should do, or saying yes to things that are other people's urgent, when actually you've got enough going on yourself that you need to get done, and you're saying yes to more and more things, which is just creating massive overwhelm. Also, you've got your non-negotiables. What are those things for you? And, for me, in terms of having 2 young children at school as well, when school finishes and they are back home and I'm organising dinner and all those things, I do not schedule calls unless it's something really urgent, because that is time that I put my mum hat on. And I don't work in the evenings, and that's partly for the kids, but partly because I am just rubbish in the evenings. I am a morning person. And so to me, something would have to be really, really important for me to break those non-negotiables. So most importantly as well, when you are setting these boundaries for yourself, you must communicate them to the people that need to know. So whether that's your partner, whether that's the kids, if they're old enough, whether it's your clients, whether it's a business partner, whoever it is, you need to communicate those boundaries, because it's not surprising that you feel like people keep pushing you to do more stuff if you're not actually telling them what is okay and what is not okay with you. So definitely create those boundaries. And, for me, I think that it's the mental boundary of when I will stop thinking about work. It's not just the doing, is it? It's the thinking. It's the being switched on, because we're small business owners. Most of us are just so obsessed with what we're doing and excited about the potential and the opportunity, and you can just find yourself getting all consumed in these thoughts, and then you're not present in the place that you need to be. And more and more over the last couple of years, I've really learned to manage my energy, and I've learned that I need to switch off my brain. I need to switch off and allow myself time, because then when I come back, I'm even more creative and I'm even more productive. So once you've set those non-negotiables and those boundaries for the coming year, you need to pair them with the business intentions that you have set for yourself. So is it actually viable? The things that you want to achieve this year, are they viable in the boundaries that you have set? And is it a realistic timeline? And also, are the things that you want to achieve, are they actually the right things to be focusing on? Are they a good use of your energy? Because remember, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And a lot of the time we're saying no to our own well-being. So that's one thing to be very much aware of. But I'm not saying here, and that's one thing I want to keep reiterating with this podcast and talking about building a life-friendly business. I am not talking about getting rid of your ambition or just making do or just doing what you can. I'm talking about building a successful business, but I'm talking about doing it on your own terms. So when I'm talking about, are things viable? Are things realistic? I don't want you to set yourself up for failure, because there's nothing worse than deciding on this massive big goal, and that that it's going to be really time pressured, and it'll be okay, I'll be able to manage, and then you just reach burnout, and then you feel like a failure, and then you lose confidence. But let's stop there, wind that back, and create yourself realistic timetables for achieving these things in your business. So just to finish off, my top tip for the year ahead is to make sure that you're getting the support that you need. So you've thought about how you want to feel this year. You've thought about what the boundaries are that you need to have in place and your non-negotiables. And you've also thought about whether the goals that you've set within your business or the intentions you set within your business, whether they're realistic and viable. If not, tweak them a little bit. I'm not saying bin them, I'm saying tweak them a little bit. But I really want you to think about what support you can utilize. And this might be support that you already have in your life. People may have been offering you help and you've been saying, no, it's fine, I'll do it myself. Make sure that you accept help. Okay, we are not superhuman, and the more that you can learn to accept help, the more you will be able to grow your business and do it on your own terms as well. So get support, and that could be in the form of joining a community. Obviously, we've got the Life Friendly Business community, we've got the Cocoon community. Surround yourself with people who get it, and surround yourself with people who will lift you up rather than tear you down. Also, look for business advice and training. If you're part of a membership like my Cocoon membership, make sure you're using it. Make sure that you are scheduling in the time to check out some training, implement something from it. That is when you're going to be able to progress. I've got a bit of a mantra in the Cocoon membership, which is about learning, implementing and progressing. Because, if you sit down and watch a 20-minute video or read a blog post about something and then think, okay, yeah, that was really helpful. Okay, yeah, I'll do that later. And then you just leave it and months go by and you've kind of forgotten that knowledge. You need to implement something in order for it to have an impact in your business. And I think that we can get really stuck in that learning loop of just consuming all this information and not actually acting on it. So make sure that you're doing that. So get business advice and get training. Make sure that you are basically taking a shortcut by getting help from people that know what they're talking about. Because, I speaking from my own experience, I've been in business for 13 years. I've had 5 different businesses. I've done a lot of stuff for free or on a shoestring budget, and it takes longer, believe me. So take that business advice where you can get it. And also, finally, accept help in your home life. Accept help with the kids. Think about people that have been offering to help you, but also maybe you haven't got people offering. Maybe you're not, fortunate enough to have people around you who offer those kind of things like grandparents. But, maybe you could put the kids in after school club one day a week to give you that extra hour to help you achieve that certain goal. Maybe you could get a cleaner once a fortnight, once a month to take that weight off you. All sorts of things. I know people, get those meal boxes as well delivered just to take something out of your brain so that you can spend that time either working on your business or looking after yourself. So I'd really love you to think about what you want this year to look like and to feel like, and do reach out. Take a look at lifefriendlybusiness.com on all the different ways that I can help you do that. But it's great to be back on the Life Friendly Business podcast. Like I say, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to get any feedback on what's been helpful and also what you would like me to cover. If there's anyone you'd like me to interview as well, please do reach out. So you can find me on social at lifefriendlybiz or email erin@lifefriendlybusiness.com. See you next week. Would you like to join me in person for a whole day of CEO thinking time, practical business training, and inspiration to help you keep the momentum going in your business? The Momentum Day one-day event is taking place on Thursday, the 10th of March in Bournemouth, UK. Space is extremely limited, so book today to guarantee your place at this not-to-be-missed in-person event of the year for women in business. Get your ticket now at lifefriendlybusiness.com/momentum.